Okay. All right, so let's talk about Camtasia. Camtasia is just one of the many recording softwares that are out there. What I like about Camtasia is that you can do long videos on this if you need to. And the good teaching with videos say that your video should only be about 5 to 10 minutes in length so you don't bore your students with long, drawn-out videos. But sometimes, like in our classes, we have a student that's on vacation and they said, can you record the lecture for us? So I will record a 15-minute lecture, sometimes an hour and a half. And you can break it up. Camtasia does allow you to break it up into segments if you need to. So you can put it out there for your students as one way. Another way of getting the information is through the auditory pathway. And you can break it up if you want, or you can just record a couple of short, difficult segments, up to you how you want to do it. But that's why we chose Camtasia. The bad part is that it requires that individual license, which means you have to call over to Mike Coretta and Tamara Brown. They're the contact people for Camtasia, and you basically have to give them your case. Why do you need Camtasia, and what are your plans with it? Are you going to be a regular user? Do you have a special need in your department for online videos? They consider it on a case-by-case basis. But I know they are trying to cut costs with budget cuts and things right now. So what they are doing is Brandy Ordery has Camtasia on a computer in her office that's open to any instructor that would like to use it, and she's also an expert user of Camtasia, so you get that support while you're there also. You can ask questions, get your video going, Coleman, when it's done with the remodel, they will have it in the teacher office area. There'll be a computer there with Camtasia on it for your use, so anybody can get on there and use it. So for your individual recordings you want to do, that's a good option. So it's limited in availability. If you wanted to buy it personally, it's $300. So pretty pricey. But it's one of those things, if you're going to be teaching for a really long time and you'd rather do your recording at home where it's quiet and controlled and you can be in your slippers and pajamas, it might be worth that investment. So I've thought about it a couple times, but it's kind of noisy at my house, so I held off. Maybe when kids get a little bigger, it'll be easier. But like I said, it's good for heavy users of online content. Other online recording software have you heard of some of them? You're probably aware. PowerPoint does record, but it doesn't allow you to interact with the cursor, where Camtasia will record your moves of the mouse and you can highlight things, you can draw on the PowerPoint if you want to, so that's kind of a nice thing about Camtasia. PowerPoint does not do that, and PowerPoint creates a huge file when you're done. So somehow you have to compress that file. I haven't had good luck with that. Some students can download it onto their computers, other students can't, so that makes it difficult. What I like about Camtasia is when I'm done recording, I can save it to YouTube and just provide a YouTube link on Blackboard. And that is, as we know, if you've ever watched YouTube, that requires no memory. It's all out there. And I like the fact that it's out away from this institution, that if something should happen, our system should be down, that we're not dependent on this system for students to watch those videos. Because I have some students that just subscribe to my channel and they're not even in my class. They hear from other students that this is out there. They go to my channel, and I have, and lots of different students watching my videos. And not that they're fantastic, but it's just for some students, it's another way of listening. Like I had a student that had a migraine headache for the weekend. We had a big exam on Monday. She said she just laid in bed, turned it on really low, and just listened to my lectures over and over and over, and that was the only way she could study for the weekend. So it works for some. So that's Camtasia. One little side note is that we are moving here at Western to closed captioning. So if you create a video, they would like you to create a script for it. And Camtasia does allow you to add script. There's a button on there, and there is, after this session at 11 o'clock, Brandy and Chris Follansby are running a session on online videos and how to prepare them with closed captioning. It's, what room is it in? Let me see, I think I wrote it down when I met with her. B214, from 11 to 11:50, B214, if you're interested in attending that. Okay, so anyway, Camtasia has that closed captioning ability. So another option you can do that is not as good, but if you're just recording a PowerPoint and that's all you're putting out there, is there's the notes pages underneath PowerPoint. So if I escape out of here and I go to View and I go to Notes Pages on the top, I could go ahead and type a script here. So if you're creating a video, and what the benefit of that, some people say, why would I want to go through all that work? I haven't had a hard of hearing student in my class in 15 years. Why would I want to go through all that work? Well, I do notes, everything that I talk about on this, I put in the notes pages. I do that for my regular students, and they love that. They love that extra information, because when you've been, studying a topic for 3-4 weeks, you don't remember specifically, unless some students, as we know, are not great note takers. They don't remember what is important about this slide again. What is it showing? You can talk about that here without taking up space during your presentation, and then you can have your students print out the notes pages at home, or I have them copy them to a Word document, note the slide number, put slide 3, and then copy and paste this to a Word document so they have that extra information. And that really will help your hard of hearing students if you're doing a lot of recordings on PowerPoint. But now if you're showing an animation or a video, then the captioning would be important, because you don't want them, you want to sync what's being said with the text. And Chris said one thing to remember is that you should only have 1 to 2 lines of text with closed captioning, because otherwise it's too much to read. And 32 characters per line. That includes spaces. So we do have software here on campus to help convert DVDs and things like that if you have that. So that's an option too. But and there's places you can send your material. It's like $1 a minute for video. So I don't know if we're going to invest in that as a college, but that's something to keep in mind. Oh, that's really hard to see now. So I'm going to go back to View, go back to Normal. Okay, so I use the notes pages underneath each slide. And the person to contact again is Chris Follensby. She helps with the hard of hearing. So questions about Camtasia? At the end of our session today, I'll show you, when I finish recording our session, I'll show you how I save it, produce it, and put it on YouTube. So I'll need about 10 minutes to do that. So I'll make sure I stop at 10:40 to show you how to do that. Okay, the next topic is Respondus. And Respondus is, let's say you recorded your video, you put it out on Blackboard, and you want them to watch it, but you need them to be accountable for watching it. So now you're going to add a little online quiz for them to watch after they watch your video, so they can show that they learned something. And then you can talk about it in class. It's really important when we flip a classroom that we don't push content, essential content, online and hold students individually accountable with no pullback into the classroom. Because the goal of the flipped classroom concept is not to push more on our students outside of class and then pile on more when they come into class with the same type of teaching method. That's not it. The goal is push it out of class, so when they come to class you can mix it up. They call it fill the bucket at home, stir it up in class. So you're actually doing some activities in class and working with the material. Like what we do in general A&P, for example, is we'll have them watch some generic information like parts of the heart. These are the atria, these are the ventricles, here's the valves, blood flows like this. Watch it multiple times, take the little video, answering some multiple choice questions. So that gives them the exposure. Then when they come to class, you hand out a diagram of the heart and say, here's a red and blue colored pencil. I want you guys to draw arrows through the heart, in what order they go in. Pretend you're a red blood cell moving through the heart. And they get in groups and they work with that. That's much more meaningful than saying, okay, you watched the video, now I'm going to go over the parts of the heart. Who would watch the video? I've taken some online classes that had a flipped model, and they say watch the video and then we're going to show you in class how to do that skill. Nobody watched the video because we knew we were going to do it in class. So you have to make them accountable outside of class, yet bring that information into class. And some people, what I've done too, is I've taken some of those questions from the online quiz and I have included that in my paper quiz when they come to class. So if they did the online video, they'll get that one right, but they didn't, it's to their disadvantage. And I make sure I throw some of those online quiz questions on my test too. Not in the same exact format, but the same content, so they know we're going to be held accountable for this stuff. This stuff is tied in to the other material. Okay, so here's how Respondus works. So it's going to take, let's say you have a lot of tests. Let's say you have a final exam with 100 questions. You don't want to type that all into this software to put it online. You can format that test. You can format multiple choice, matching, ordering, multiple answer, multiple choice, true, false, even essay, but then you have to go in and manually grade it. You can put all of that, those tests that you already have, and put them into Respondus, and then Respondus allows you to take it from there to the Blackboard sections that you want. So I'll show you how we do that. One more thing is I can access a textbook test bank that works with Respondus. So if you just look at your textbook, contact your publisher and say, do you have a test bank for Respondus? And if so, I'd like the password to access that. And you can request it even through Respondus. And I've done that for our general A&P. So I can pull questions if I'm in a pinch and I want to throw a quick quiz out there and I don't have time or energy or motivation to make up 5 questions. I go to my test bank, choose them, bam, they're out there. So it's very fast. And isn't it about efficiency with teaching? So we have the time to do the good stuff instead of the clerical, secretarial work. So Respondus has saved me a lot of time. So I'll show you how that works. So I go to Respondus, and this is free. They'll give it to you, no issue. You contact, again, Mike Coretta. Yes? I don't know. I would assume, I'd be sure it is. I mean, I'm sure it is because Mac is really educational, software or whatever. Yeah, so I'm sure it is. All right, so I just click on this. I go to Blackboard. All right, so they'll give you a password. Like I said, it's free, so no big deal. So here's some choices. I can create a new Respondus file. So let's just say, I'm going to say quiz number 1, and I'll just describe it, whatever, and I hit OK. So now I open it. Oh, where'd it go? All right, well, I didn't like that. Let's try again. Quiz number 1. Great. This is a little ridiculous. All right, well, let's try something else then. Import questions from a text file. Okay, I'm going to import one from a Word document, and I'm going to go get it. So I'm going to go into my iDrive on campus, and I'm going to look for a test. So I'll go here, and I'll go to, let's see, lecture exams. Now, I don't have this formatted, but let's say I did. Let's say and here's a simple multiple choice how to format. What I would do is I would go in on my iDrive, and I would put an asterisk. So I'll just go over here and show you. I'm going to go and pull up this renal exam A. And I would just put an answer in front of, or put an asterisk in front of the correct answer. So now it's formatted. So when I import this into Respondus, it'll put the right answer. So an increase in the permeability would be that. Okay, so good enough. That's done. So now I go and I grab renal exam. Oops. So I'm going to grab my renal exam A, open it. So now it's in there. And now I can name it renal exam computerized, so then I know it's an online version. And I'm going to hit preview to look at it. And it's saying there's no answer choices. I know that because I didn't choose any. What's the problem here? Once you hit finish, then you can preview it and it'll show you each of the questions. But they just installed this on the computer, and I wonder if there's an error on it because there is. Well, it's not working because it won't let me create a new file. I don't know why it's not working. So what I'll do is I'll go on my computer and I'll show you how to do this. I'll record it on my video on my computer on Camtasia, and then I'll include it in the file that I give you from today's session. That way you can see it. But you know it's out there, you know what it can do, because once I'm done with it, when I go to preview and publish, it'll say publish to Blackboard, and you'll say yes. And then you'll get a drop-down menu of all your sections, and then you just pick the sections, 6, 5, 3, click those, and it'll open up those sections, and it'll say which folder. As long as you have the same format in those 3 sections and you have the same folders, then I would put it under the renal folder. So then it would show up, so I'd click renal folder, hit OK, and then it'll say, retrieving data, attaching to file, and then it'll say done. And then I'll hit OK. Then I go into my Blackboard, I look in the renal folder, and I'll see renal exam A. And it won't be available to my students, though, so it's not instantly out there. You have time to go in and tweak it if you need to, and set settings and dates and things on it. So now it's out there. And it's all with simple clicks. The only thing you have to do is format your test. And the beauty of it is if you're writing a test, just format it as you're going. It's very easy. And if you ever need help on how do I format, like say a multiple answer or a true false, just Google it. Say, respondus multiple choice questions, and there'll be a real easy way, here's the format you use. Sometimes it's like capital M, capital A, colon, space, and then type your question. And then it'll format it as a multiple answer where you can choose more than one. So it's really slick, very user-friendly, and saves you a ton of time. And all these, exams are saved in respondus. So again, next semester, you can throw them in all these different folders. Because have you found with Blackboard, you have to add your assessments individually every semester? That you can't keep your assessments, like anybody ever copy a section from one semester to the next? And the online assessments stay in your test folder, but they're not in your folders. I'll show you what I mean. Okay. So that is respondus. Yes?
How do you get to respondus? Because when I pull it up on the computer, it just talks about it like you had the login and all that.
Right. It was installed.
Sign up for it, or
It was installed.
talk to somebody.
Yes, it was installed on this computer.
Okay.
This one, but there's a problem with it. It wasn't completely installed because I can't do anything with it.
So we just have to talk to somebody to get it on, and then it'll
Mike,
make more sense.
Mike Coretta and Tamara Brown. Yep,
Okay, 'cause
yep.
even respondus is on here, but it's a lot.
Yeah, and that's different. Respondus Lockdown Browser is, I'll show everybody what you're talking about. If I go to my desktop, right here, if you put a test online, see the little padlock? If I put a test online and I want it to be proctored, and sometimes we do that, like for final exams, I'll show you. I'll go in Blackboard, and I want students to click on this to access my test. Because when I click on this, it changes the screen. It wants me to close. I can't do it, though. I don't want to close it because I'm right in the middle of recording. But basically, it takes you to the Blackboard sign-in screen. So that secures this. They cannot access the internet. They can't do anything else when they're in Respondus Lockdown Browser. So it allows your testing to be very secure as long as you have a proctor and someone's watching them. So I really like that. And I'll show you how you choose that for your test. Okay, I'm still recording. All right, so let's go in. I'm going to go into a Blackboard. Why don't you go into one of your Blackboard sites now, and we'll do some clicking around. So here's my online class that has taken lots and lots of my time to close loopholes for my students. I had most students getting a D or an F in this class when it first started out. And my first response was, well, we just can't do this online. It's just too hard. Students can't do this online. It's ridiculous. And then after thinking and seeing what the problem was and having him come in and tell me, what's going on? Are you doing this? Oh, no, I didn't know. I'm not doing the videos. Oh, I didn't know about the tests and, that I had to take them by a certain time. So here's how I got around that. Here's learning modules. So to find learning modules, so everybody's in the class right now? Yes? Okay, so here's what I want you to do. I want you to add a learning module to one of your folders. So go to one of your folders. So So you have this choice across the top, right? Everybody have that? All right, so then I'm going to build content. I'm going to go down to learning module. See where it says this, so click on that. Give it a title. And let's call it flipped part 2 so everybody knows. Everybody see where that came from? If you didn't, if you're having trouble, raise your hand. I'll come and show you what we just did. Because you don't want to come to the session and not get anything out of it. Everybody good? Okay. All right, so now enforce sequential viewing of the learning module. I want my students to do this sequentially. I want them to watch the video. I want them to do the homework. I want them to take the quiz, and then I want them to take the test. So I'm going to say yes. I want that. Permit users to view content. Obviously, track number of views. Yes, I do. I want to look. Are my students watching or using this? Are they getting in there? If I have a student saying, I don't know why I'm failing. Gosh, well, you never watched this. You never accessed this learning module. So, and then set date and time restrictions. I don't do that because I want them to access it throughout the class. So then hit submit. So now that I'm in there, I'm going to click on it. And now I'm going to build content. So let's say you want to put a video in there. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to go to video. And I'm going to find my videos that I recorded. Say I recorded something on YouTube that I want to show there. So go to YouTube and just grab a video, maybe something related to your class. So I'm just going to put heart anatomy. Browse YouTube. Just go to youtube.com. Let's put it in the window up top. Put youtube.com. Pick some short thing related to your content. And here's a nice 3-minute video on heart anatomy. I'm going to click on it.
Kinzer is the wildest little boy that I know.
You'd never know he had a heart
condition.
condition.
I'm going to hit Control C. So it's blue.
When he was born,
blue, hit Control
perfect.
C. Now
Just
I'm going
like
to go
any
back
other
to my
little baby
blackboard,
I've seen, I guess.
I'm going to hit Control V to paste it there. So Control V is in Victor.
He was
now what do I want to do about this?
diagnosed with transposition of the great
I'll
arteries.
just track number of views again.
That's all I could think about is, oh my gosh, I'm going to lose my baby.
The name of the file. Yep.
How old was he? 5 days old?
5 days.
He was 5 days old when he had his open heart surgery. He's a typical happy little boy.
Oh, you know what? No, you know what?
He's
I did that wrong.
buddy.
I'm sorry. Go here. Go back to
After the surgery, they said
we're going to go
he's
to web link.
100%
Sorry.
normal.
I wanted web link, not video.
He can go about
So then
being
put the
a kid
name would
again.
be heart anatomy, for me anyway. And then I'm going to hit Control V to paste it. And then I could say, watch. Like what I do with my students,
About
that
the
I'll
size
say, I'll
of your
tell them how long
fist,
it
the
is.
human
6
heart
minutes.
is the most
So then they
important
know,
muscle
okay,
in the
I've got
body.
6 minutes, I'll watch this.
It can beat more than 100,000 times a day, pumping about
So there's-
2,000 gallons
there's
of
my
blood
video.
through a 60,000-mile
Okay.
network of vessels in the
Now,
body.
I want
The
to
human heart
put
is
a
made up of
quiz
4
for
major
them to
chambers.
watch. Yes.
The right atrium, right ventricle, left atrium, and left ventricle.
I stole it
The right
from
side
the
of the
window
heart
up
receives
here,
blood
the
that is
address
low in
on
oxygen from
top.
veins all over the body.
When it turns
It then
blue,
pumps the blood
yep,
through the pulmonary
and then I hit Control
arteries
C.
into the lungs where it will become
That's where I stole it.
reoxygenated. The left side of the heart receives this
yeah, if you want to.
oxygen-rich
Yep,
blood
yep.
from the lungs.
So now I've got
Then
my...
it pumps the blood through the aorta
my
back
heart
out to the
anatomy.
rest of the body
So
through a
now I want them
complex
to take a little
network of
quiz on
arteries,
this. So now I'm
arterioles,
gonna
and
go to
capillaries. While blood is circulating through the body,
Test.
it delivers
Click
oxygen
assessments.
and nutrients to
Click
tissue through the
assessments.
capillaries.
And then I want them to
and
take
at the
the
same
quiz.
time picks up carbon
So I'll
dioxide
just
and other
go
waste
to-
material.
These are
The
quizzes I've
veins
created
return
in
the
Blackboard on
deoxygenated
respondents.
blood to the right atrium,
So they're in
and the
my,
cycle begins
they're
again.
under, if you want to, create a test in Blackboard, you can do it here under Course Tools. There's test surveys
The heart
and
has
tools.
4 valves.
That's where you would
Each
create
valve
a
is like a
test,
one-way
and that's where you
door
would
that
find
keeps
the
the
test.
blood in the
If you
heart
put it
flowing in the
Respondents,
same
it goes
direction.
there automatically, and you can
The
save
valves
that
are
from
made up
semester
of
to
2 or
semester.
3 small but
So I'm
strong
going to,
flaps of
let's just,
tissue
I'll just
called
pick
leaflets.
any old quiz
Leaflets
here. Let's
open
just-
to
I'm
allow
gonna
blood to
throw
flow through the valve and close to
this
prevent
blood
blood from
vessels
flowing
like this.
backward.
Okay, so I put that in there.
The opening and closing of the valves
Now,
is
how do I
controlled
want
by
that
blood
quiz to
pressure
be? Do I want
changes
them
within
to
each
be
heart
available
chamber.
right now? Yeah.
The tricuspid valve is
Do I want
positioned
them
in
to
the
take
heart's
it as
right
many
side,
times as they want?
between the right atrium and right
So they get
ventricle.
lots and lots of practice?
The
That's what I
pulmonic
do
valve
for my
separates the right
fundamentals. If it's a
ventricle
quiz,
from
you
the
can take it as
pulmonary
many
artery.
times as you want. Go
The
through those
mitral valve
models,
is
look at those
positioned in the
parts,
heart's left
spell
side,
it correctly.
between the
'Cause they
left
have to
atrium
put
and the
these
left
are
ventricle.
multiple, or these are fill in
And
the
the
blanks, you have
aortic
to spell
valve
it
separates the
correctly.
left ventricle
So yeah,
from the
I want them
aorta.
to take it as many times as they want. Do I want them to be able to stop and come back later, say if they got to go change a diaper, or if phone rings, important phone call? Or do I want them to finish it all
As
in one
blood
session?
circulates
It
through the
depends.
heart,
For a
some of the
quiz,
blood flows
I'm
into a
kinda
set
lenient
of
with
much
quizzes,
smaller
so I
blood
say,
vessels
that's fine, come back
that
to it later
provide
if you
blood
want.
directly
now,
to the
when
heart.
do I want this due?
These arteries,
Well,
called
I'm
coronary
doing
arteries,
this in a learning module,
surround
which
or
means they have
crown
to do
the
this,
heart.
then they have to do this, then
This
they have to do
separate
this. So I'm not
circulatory
going to put a
system,
due date
called
in until we
coronary
get to the
circulation,
exam. That's what
keeps the
is
heart
going to
nourished
do.
and
Everything else
oxygenated.
leads up to that, and
The
they
two
know
main
that.
branches of the
So
aorta
I'm not
that
going to put
nourish
a
the
due date
heart
for
are
this
the right
quiz.
and left main
And
coronary
now,
arteries.
how do I want their answers to be displayed?
Coronary
Do I
artery
want them to know the
disease,
answers
which
right after
occurs
they
when
submit
there is
it?
a buildup of
Do I
cholesterol
want
plaque,
to wait till the due date
affects
is
the
done,
arteries
then
of
we can
this
go back and look at
circulatory
their
system
answers so they're not
and
sharing with
causes
one
a
another?
decrease in blood flow to the heart muscle,
After everybody
resulting in
has
possible
been
damage to the
graded,
heart
say it's
or
an
a heart
essay
attack.
test, it's your choice how you do that. Because this is a quiz, I do it after submission, and I let them see the ones
The beating
they
of the heart,
submitted.
which is its rhythm,
which
is
means when they
regulated by
look
electrical
at their score,
impulses
it's going to show you
generated
which
by
ones
your
they
heart
got wrong,
muscle.
but it's not going to tell them what
These
the right
impulses
answer is.
begin in the
'Cause I want them to keep
sinoatrial
looking, go
node
back
and
to your
cause your
references,
heart to
look for those
contract.
structures. I don't want
Sometimes
to
the
give them the answers.
sinoatrial node is
So I
also
just put
referred to as
submitted
your heart's
only.
natural pacemaker.
And then do I want to
since
randomize
keeps
it?
the
I
heart
do
rate
for the quiz,
constant
but
and
sometimes you
consistent.
want things in order. I like it
The impulses
randomized
then
for-
travel
for
to the
anatomy.
atrioventricular
then I
node,
hit submit.
where the signal is checked and then sent through the
So there's my
ventricles, which
quiz.
causes them to contract.
Now,
Your
look
heart
over
rate
here.
can
We're
change
in a
based
learning
upon external
module, which
conditions
means
such as
that
diet,
this
exercise,
will not
stress,
show up
or even
until
hormonal
this.
factors.
I'm sorry, this lab quiz will not show up until they've clicked on heart anatomy. Now, could they click on it and not watch it? Yeah, they could. There's other things you can add. I could add a checkbox on the bottom of the page on this video, and they'd have to show that they watched it, but still, they can bypass it and just click it. So again, we can't force them to sit there and actually watch it, but you at least hope that they're going through and they're being exposed to the information you want. So now I want to put an exam in here, and this is where adaptive release comes in. So now I want to take a cardio exam, blood and heart lab exam. So now this, I want to make the link available. I do not want multiple attempts, so they get to do it once. I want them to do it all in one sitting. I want them to take this test serious, and I'm going to put a due date in here. So I'm going to click the calendar and pick a due date of next week. And do I want my students to start the test if the due date is passed? It depends. I allow one retest and one makeup for my online students, so I do allow that. So I'll look in, but in the grade book, it'll be a yellow circle showing that they took it late. So you'll know that they didn't take it by the due date. And you can decide, is this number 1 or 2 for them, or is this number 6? And you can then have that conversation with them. So I do allow them to take it after the due date is passed, so I can track that. And now this is the exam, so I don't give any answers. They have to come see me, or they can ask questions, but because it's online, I don't want people sitting together and seeing what the answers are, so I don't let them see any answers. And I do randomize it, hit submit. Now, but I want the quiz to precede the lab exam, because they can take this as many times as they want till they get 100%. Then I know they're ready for the lab exam, and this is where you have to close the loophole with adaptive release. So I'm going to take this lab exam, and I'm going to make it dependent upon completing the lab quiz with 100%, and that's what I do with actually 80% I choose, because they can get a couple wrong. So now I click on adaptive release. So you go to your lab exam, hit adaptive release, and I'm going to go down to select something in the grade center. Well, that quiz, I got a lot of stuff in the quiz. Shoot, lab quiz, heart anatomy. Oh, where was that? It was called heart anatomy, right? I have a lot of stuff in here. Lab quiz, I'm not going to waste my time, I'm just going to put this. Okay, but let's say that was the quiz that I just had. And now I'm going to say I want them to have a percent on that lab quiz greater than 80. So they cannot start this, because it says adaptive release now, means that's not going to show up until they get an 80% or higher on this lab quiz. So they're stuck, and they know because of the syllabus you created that this is out there, and they can see the table of contents. Oh, there's a lab exam there, but I'm not seeing it here because I didn't do this yet. And this has been the difference between mostly D's and F's to mostly A's and B's. And it's been that marked of a difference. By forcing them to do that lab quiz and look at it over and over and over again to get to the lab exam. And the lab quiz is worth very few points. So, you know, it's not going to make or break their grade doing well on the quizzes, but they need it to get to that exam. Let's say this exam was something I wanted them to do in class, proctored. So then I would go to, remember the Respondus Lockdown Browser? I would go to my Tools menu over here, and it's right here. So I just go to Course Tools, bring that down, go to Respondus Lockdown Browser. And this will list all my exams. And I wanted to do the heart and blood vessel lab exam. I'm not going to search for it right now, but let's just say it was this one, the blood vessels lab exam. I click on the little box here. I go Modify Settings. Do I want to require lockdown? Yes, I do. And I want a password, because sometimes I have students that are testing at the Regional Learning Center, and I'll tell the secretary, I'll email them, here's the password for that exam. Whenever Susie comes in, she can set the time that she wants to come in. Please proctor her. Make sure she uses it under Respondus, because it won't work. She'll try to, it'll be there, but she won't be able to get it open because it'll say it requires lockdown. So then I'll just give it a password of Winter 05. And you can do a monitor where they actually turn on a webcam and you can watch them. I don't do that because I think students can still take advantage of that. So I just ask for an in-person proctor, and then I hit Save and Close. So now I go back to my module. And you can move these around. If you click on the little arrow here, you can slide them where you want them. It always shows up on the bottom. This is in the way. All right, so click on this, and if they try to begin it without, well, didn't take the quiz, so it won't let me. But again, it's going to require 80% or higher in the lab exam and require a Respondus Lockdown Browser if I want. And if I don't want it, I just go back into my course tools, click on Respondus, find the test, hit Modify Settings, and get rid of that and say don't require Respondus. Okay? So this is how you can better hold your students accountable, is through learning modules and enforcing that sequential learning. So they have to do things in order. They can't just poke around. And to hold them accountable for quizzes leading up to exams, or let's say you want them to print off a document, you can make that adaptive release, or I'm sorry, put that in sequential learning module, so they have to print off the document, say print this prior to the video. Well, they have to do that first before they can go to the next step. So any questions? Is there anybody having trouble with any of the concepts we talked about so far? Yes?
Create a learning module, like with a second thing in order, will open up before the first thing's done.
Right.
Even if they don't, even if it's a video, they have to click on the video.
Yes. Yep. Yep.
Okay, so if they just open it, like they click on the video, is that it?
Yeah, like I said, we can't.
Yeah, so
it can't.
The thing will open up right away.
Yep. Yep. And that's one of those things that at least you know they saw it. They couldn't just completely skip over it. They are knowingly saying, I'm not going to watch this video. And that's where you throw the lab quiz in there to force them, you know. And when I was in the nursing program here at Western, sometimes, you know, you could ask a question like, what color hair did the person demonstrating that skill have? Or did she wear glasses? You know, you could even throw some real generic questions in there to make sure they're actually watching the video. So, like I said, it's made a huge difference for my students to be able to be held accountable for this information. And one more thing before I answer your question, Robin, all the content for my class is here. Whoops, for my discussion board, is here. So it's not like go here for this, go over here for that. Students complain. We did a focus group recently for Achieving the Dream, and students have complained that instructors are all over the board with their blackboards. We just get one class down, the semester is done, we have another class, and they're all over the place. And I don't know what to do, where to go to find the information. It's so confusing. That was the same problem in my class until I went with learning modules. And I also set my learning modules not to show up. See how these all say adaptive release? So when they first come to class, this is the only thing they see is the learning modules. There's nothing here. And it says, once you've completed the syllabus quiz with 100% accuracy, then the first learning module will show up. And I have a quiz that says, how many exams can you make up? When our tests due, when our discussion boards due, and they have to get that to 100%. That has helped my class hugely, because they know what the expectations are from the class before they even get to the first module. And I have that syllabus quiz here. And with an online class, you've got to say, you know, they look at this sidebar, oh my gosh, where do I begin? That's why I put capital start here, exclamation point, so there's no confusion of where do I start. So they click on that, and here's their syllabus quiz. So they click on that, and I had that adaptive release to the first learning module. This learning module doesn't show up until that syllabus quiz has 100%. And the same thing, this one doesn't show up until if I go to my intro to anatomy, here's what I have. I have lab notes, videos, a homework link to the online homework testing, lab quiz, lab exam. Then they can watch the lecture, take the quiz on that, lecture exam, and that's what's adaptive release for the next learning module. Once they take that lecture exam, then the next learning module shows up. And what's nice about this, I can have students that can whip through this class in 4 weeks if they want to, because if they work through the modules, that's accelerated learning, isn't it? It kind of puts it off of us and puts it on the student. You want to accelerate this class? Go for it. But, you know, due dates are out there in case you fall behind. Robin, you had a question?
When I did the follow-up,
Yeah.
I uploaded an assignment.
Okay.
And every time I'm looking at it and with the edit mode off, so I'm looking at it as a student, it says submission for previewed assignment is not saved. What does that mean? So like
Oh, you were looking in the quiz? You were probably poking in that quiz? Did you have a quiz?
No, I just made my own flow chart like you just did.
Let's see what you have in there, though.
Okay, so
So you have heart anatomy.
yep. So I did the video first.
Okay.
Okay, then I did this assignment, and I just said do that. So let's say
Okay. Okay, so
could
just
write
put
it.
something in there. Yep.
Okay, and then I hit submit, and I get that.
Submission from previewed assignment is not saved.
So then I thought, okay, I'll attach. So I made one to attach,
Mm-hmm.
and do it, and it still doesn't save it. So what does that mean? Because half of my students are going to say, I can't get it to load.
Right, right.
It still lets me go on to the next step.
Right. Let's go. I'll have to look at that one when we're done. Okay, I haven't seen that one before. All right, so here's how I would finish this recording. So I want to show you that piece. So now let's say the class is done. I want to finish recording, or let's say I want to pass out a paper. So you can hit the pause button so you're not, you know, having that downtime while your online students are watching you or waiting for you to pass out papers. So now let's say I'm done. So the number to hit to finish my recording is F10.